Hey guys, it's Azure here, and tonight I'm going to be talking about one of my crazy ex-girlfriends. This story takes place back to when I was around 12 years old and ended about when I was 15. So, as I said, the story takes back when I was 12. I used to go to this campground with my grandparents at least a couple times every summer, and I met this girl. Well, I was there when I was 12 years old, and eventually I started talking to her more. I eventually got her Snapchat and her phone number, and after I'd left, we were calling and FaceTiming every day. Eventually, after about a week and a half of talking, we finally sealed the deal, and I asked her out, and she agreed to it, and so we went on from there. About a week and a half to 2 weeks into the relationship, I caught her cheating, so I'd broken up with her. And then fast forward 2 years, when I was 14, I got in contact with her again. It wasn't crazy like we were talking every day as we used to be, but she was talking to me quite often, and usually we would end up having interesting calls and just talk about random crap. And during these interesting FaceTime calls we normally have, sorry, we would just talk about how our lives are, talk about what we want when we get older, and how life's just going in general. And sometimes we would talk about back when we were kids and how we used to hang out at the same campground every summer. We'd go at least once or twice a week. We'd see each other, and eventually we started talking again. We got back together. Now, the reason I say she's one of my crazy ex-girlfriends is because she has done some pretty crazy things. I went to the campground again with one of my old buddies. I will not say his name, but I'll call him D for short. So me and D haven't hung out since I was around 12 years old, because after I was 12 and 13, I stopped going for a few years. Understandably, I didn't want to run into my ex-girlfriend again, because it was very awkward every time I'd talk to her, because, well, she cheated on me and she wasn't really, let's go with the best girlfriend around. I wouldn't recommend her. So she just randomly showed up one day when I was hanging out with him. And the reason I say she's crazy is because of what she did. She would scream in my face, and she would just be a complete and total one of those wannabe girls who would just go crazy if you didn't answer them. And when I was hanging out with my buddy, I was obviously trying to avoid talking to her because I was trying to hang out with my buddy. And she came there and she started screaming at me, and she screamed at him. And he looks at me and he says, "Hey man, why are you with this girl? She's treating you pretty bad and she's a little bit crazy." And I said, "Yeah, well, that's what happens sometimes when you date the wrong girls." And so me and him end up getting, we'll go with hydrated. Well, we were very thirsty, so we got very hydrated, we'll go with, which isn't the correct term, obviously, you're saying hydrated instead of the other thing, because, well, that would get me demonetized, and we don't want that, do we? Anyways, so we get very hydrated, and I go to use the bathroom that's at the canteen that's right outside this little campground. I go there and I go and use the bathroom, and I leave my phone on the bench outside with my buddy. I come back, and he had blocked her and removed her off everything that he could find her on, which I don't blame him for. Eventually, she got in contact with me again by making multiple other Snapchats just to scream at me for it, and this all ended up just going sideways. So I started just blocking every single Snapchat that would pop up with her name, and afterwards, I had, up until I'd say about 4 months ago, I haven't spoken a word to her until she added me back on another Snapchat account and tried to show off her new boyfriend, and at that point I just didn't care. So anyways, that wraps up this video. I hope you guys have a good night. Take care.